be yourself, which she would always encourage me to be, but I didn't really know how to do that. Now I understand where she was going with that.
This is Collective Drift. I'm your host, Erica Knowles. This platform was created to celebrate all women, the beauty of their cultures, and international travel experiences. Welcome to Collective Drift.
We're sitting here with Jen, Karetnick. And Jen is a writer, a food critic,
a poet,
an author on travel, on food, we have cookbooks,
guidebooks, poetry books, and I run a women's organization as well.
Okay.
Called SWIM, Supporting Women Writers in Miami. So
yes, I did see that.
We all do the women thing.
Yes, we are.
Women have to be supported, but we also have to get out there ourselves and make things happen for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how would you define Jen?
How would I define Jen? Well, Jen is complicated.
Okay.
That's for sure. And Jen is all multifaceted, but Jen likes to be alone. You can't not like to be alone if you're a writer.
Right.
I know a lot of writers who are like really social.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how do you get anything done?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you gotta like to be alone. But also, social in her own way.
Mm-hmm.
Jen can talk.
Right, definitely.
Jen can teach.
Right.
I spent a long time as an educator, 15 years teaching.
Okay. And creative writing.
Mm-hmm. And Jen likes to cook, so Jen can be hospitable.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a lot of different personalities in there.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I think when you're speaking that, it reminds me like introvert, extrovert. I think that's like a big conversation now. Everybody talks about it.
We used to just say we were shy, but that's not really.
It's not really it. Exactly. Like you like to be by yourself. You might not want to be around a lot of people all the time, but you can come in and have an immediate conversation with someone. Like we already started talking before we started anything, right?
And it's really hard, I think, for some people who are younger to understand that you can turn on and turn off.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have a public-facing persona and then your private persona.
Absolutely.
I learned how to do that when I was waitressing.
Okay.
When I was working in restaurants. That you can go up to a table and you can have this like, hi, I'll be your server today. Mm-hmm. What would you like to drink? Can I get you started? And that's not really you.
Right. You're acting. That's just you're showing.
That's just your shtick, and you're like, being friendly to get your tip and trying not to spill things on them. It helps if you're not really super clumsy.
Absolutely. How did you learn to be you? How did you learn to be Jen? What did you learn from the women in your life growing up?
That's an interesting question.
From your mothers.
My mom is a really strong Leo.
Okay.
And also a really good cook.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a lot from her in the directions of like, be yourself, which she would always encourage me to be, but I didn't really know how to do that. Now I understand where she was going with that. Mm-hmm. Because she never really bent to other people's rules. If she didn't want to do something, she just didn't do it.
Okay.
But she always conformed to society expectations. So I was always confused by that. I was like, I don't get you, Mom. You're always saying be yourself, but here you are cooking 3 meals a day for people, but you're also like the president of the League of Women Voters. So I don't get it. You're a feminist, but you're catering to my dad. Mm-hmm. So I think she was kind of struggling with both of those worlds at the same time. But that was kind of required of the women back then. So she was like showing me how you can be yourself even when there's something expected of you.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, one, have you ever had a conversation about it? But I've had a conversation with a friend in regards to her mother, and it was that, her mom liked doing that, and that was her choice to do that. So that was part of being her.
Well, now I think it's so ingrained that I don't think she would say anything differently.
Okay.
And now she's 80, so it's kind of like, yeah, she enjoyed that, but she also worked full time.
Wow. That's a lot.
Both sets of grandparents, because they became ill almost as soon as I became a conscious thinking human being. I remember my grandparents being sick.
Wow. So she's taking care of them and she's taking care of you.
My dad, was like, I just seem to remember my mom being like super cool.
Wow.
And now she says things like, I set a bad example for you because you do so much and you shouldn't be doing that much.
Wow.
But I sort of dropped that part of, I have to do everything for everybody at the home.
Mm-hmm.
When I started teaching and writing full-time and raising kids.
Right, and having your own organization.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? You can make your own dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You can do your own laundry.
When did you come to that?
A long time ago. I was like, you guys eat really well because of my job. So if you're not getting leftovers or we're not going out to dinner, you can order in, you're on your own. Once my kids were old enough to like handle knives, my daughter says she learned to cook from Food Network television. That's not true. It may have even forced her, you know,
right.
But I
She might have got some extra skills.
Taught her the basics: slice and dice, saute,
right,
bake. You know, dry ingredients first, add the wet.
Right. She got that from you.
Right.
I mean,
And then my son was a little more resistant to learning how to cook. But once my daughter was older and he realized that neither she was going to cook for him nor I was going to cook for him, he learned how to cook for himself.
You got some good independent kids that can take care of themselves. Definitely. It sounds like.
And I'm really grateful that I was, I guess, lazy enough to not cook for them and not clean up after them because they're fine human beings going to college, and I can see that they're not like the helicopter victims.
That's awesome. So I wanted to back up a bit and ask you about your culture. So how do you define your culture, your ethnicity?
So it's funny that you ask because I have a lot of autoimmune disease.
Okay.
So my immunologist asked me to do the ancestry thing.
Okay.
So I took the genetic test. And I fully expected this, but not completely. But I'm like 98% Ashkenazi Jew.
Okay.
There's like nothing else there.
Right. Wow, that's
almost completely Ashkenazi Jew. So that's it.
That's it. It's like I'm Ashkenazi.
I mean, I was raised Jewish. I'm not very observant. So then my husband was interested, and he also has a lot of autoimmune disease.
Okay.
And I truly believe that we both have so much autoimmune disease because Jews have married Jews, have married Jews, have married Jews, and our number has been shrinking because of the Holocaust and because of various other reasons. But he's even more Ashkenazi Jew. I was like 97.3. He's like 98.2.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh my God, there is nothing to work with there.
Right.
From a genetic standpoint, there's like nothing
There's
else.
no way to like
Except he had 0.3% Nigerian.
Wow, so that's his mix is 0.3.
So he has like maybe a little other gene factor, but I'm like, my kids
they're Jewish.
We're just waiting for their autoimmune disease to come out.
Like, you guys gotta marry someone else.
We told them,
like, you really
marry out of the gene pool.
You need it, yeah.
We're like, you guys are like, don't have kids with somebody else who's like 98% Ashkenazi Jew. It's a bad idea. You're just going to pass on all of these diseases.
Oh my goodness. So what else besides that was passed down? What did you learn culturally from being you were raised with the Jewish religion, which is the Jewish faith, and it just culturally, not even necessarily religious wise, even though that is a big part of it. As being a woman, and being Jewish as a Jewish woman, what did you learn culturally that way?
It's funny how people treat you when they realize that you're Jewish and when they don't know.
Okay.
So I'm not a natural blonde. I know you can't.
No, I can't tell. It's absolutely gorgeous.
But I used to be a brunette. I mean, I'm born, like, my hair is kind of medium brown, light brown. And when it's brown, people tag me as Jewish.
Okay.
When it's blonde, they're like, oh, I had no idea you were Jewish. And I'm like, why would that change your opinion?
Right.
And how does that change your opinion? So I'm always really aware that, you know, it does change you in people's minds. Once you say you're Jewish, they're like, there's always that moment of like recognition that you're different, you're other. So even though your past is white, you're not suddenly white to them. And it's like, no, you're Jewish.
Like, you're not. I thought we let you into the club, but now
but
now what do we do with you in this club?
And then they go, oh, I had no idea you were Jewish.
Did that change?
What does that mean to you, though? What does that mean to you that you now know?
Have you ever asked that?
Yeah, I've asked it a couple of
What did
times,
you say?
and they're like, "It doesn't mean anything." What do you mean? They feel like they get called out, so I don't really ask anymore. I just file it away. And I've told my kids that I made them go to religious school when they were younger, so they could get bar mitzvah. But I don't make them do anything with it.
Right.
I said after that you can choose, and they both choose to be a-religious.
Okay.
They're not really concerned with, and neither am I, and my husband is not. But we still celebrate the holidays with our parents, and we pass on the culture. I think the culture is important. I think knowing where you come from is important.
What about the culture is important?
For me, mostly it's where we come from, why we are who we are, why it is that people treat you a certain way, and of course the food.
Yes.
There's no question. Some of the food, I have to say, is really good. Some of the food is, whoa, who came up with that?
What's your favorite dish?
I really like sour cream herring. It's like, technically it's herring with sour cream and wine sauce. It's like, people are like, that is so disgusting. How did you eat that? I went on this trip to Stockholm with a couple of other journalists, and I was the only Jew. And nobody would touch most of the fish, most of the kind of cured fish. Herring is really big there.
Right.
And I was the only one who would eat it. And all of the waiters were like, you must be Jewish.
I had some in Amsterdam, and I was like, ooh, I love this. I really was scared to try it.
Well, now everybody eats ceviche, which is really not that different.
It's not. But it's just like, it's just filleted out. You can see the fish.
Yes, you can see the fish.
You can see the fish.
And it's thicker, and it comes with the skin on, and maybe it's a little more pungent.
But it's good.
I love it.
I loved it too.
My husband's like, ew. And I'm like, what do you mean, ew? You eat ceviche. You love ceviche.
But ceviche has like a lot of lime on it.
It's a different flavor.
It's a different flavor.
And he's like, I don't know why. I just grew up with it and I like it. It's like the same thing with chopped liver. Like chopped liver, not so different than foie gras. You say to somebody, here's some foie gras. They go, oh, luxury. Give them chopped liver. They're like,
what is this?
No.
So what is it? How would you define a woman, a Jewish woman, like culturally? What did you learn in terms of being a woman from your mother? Like,
I feel like there's a certain way a Jewish woman acts and behaves, and that there are certain ways they're expected to behave. That they, in terms of like, people think they always have money, which is not true, and that they always want things, which is also, of course, not true.
Right.
So
what is true?
I think the truth is that if we're going to generalize,
if we're going to generalize, or what is true for you and your family?
What is true for me is that I think, as a minority, you're more aware of what it is to be left out and to belong. So, for me, I think it means you should be more caring and more kind to other people, because there is no question that not belonging really hurts.
Yeah.
And I think that by virtue of our skin color, we get to belong easier and better. But then you get that. So we can pass, we can not pass, but ultimately we know inside who we are.
Right.
And then when somebody finds out, it's like, oh, no, country club, closed doors. So it's interesting.
I had a conversation with a woman in Peru, and she'd come to not Miami, she came to the U.S., and she has friends that are in the U.S., and she somehow stumbled upon a conversation about like whiteness, and they told her she wasn't white, and she just was like appalled, like absolutely appalled that she's like, Spanish, I'm European, I'm Spaniard heritage, I'm white just like you, and she was appalled that they wouldn't consider her white. I mean, these are things that I learned, like being in another country, and because as an American, I would also the same way I'm like, oh, yeah, but you're Spanish, like you're Latin American, right? But no, when you think about this, we have a box for that, and how could you ignore our boxes, right? Because we're American and we created these boxes, but no, they came over in a ship and landed there, and our ship went here, but. if she was in America, but her American white counterparts were like, no, and she was hurt by that. And I guess you want to belong somewhere.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate at the same time.
Yeah. I think being honest with yourself and knowing that ultimately, does it really matter?
And it's all made up.
It's all made up.
It's all made up. It was made up by some Nazi guy that could find all these things that weren't real.
Right. And a lot of it is genetic selection. I mean, Jews used to be darker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we come from the Middle East. So
absolutely.
Some of us got pushed up to northern Russia, and some of us got pushed down to Spain and Morocco. It's just really interesting from a genetic standpoint how things happened.
Absolutely.
So it's really hard to say who's white, who's not.
There's none of it.
Because it's stupid.
It's absolutely, you're right.
Of course, there's some really grievous crimes committed.
And then there's
based on this stupidity.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of circumstances, and there's how we live life now that comes along with that.
Right.
What are some of the rituals that you have learned from your mom, from your aunts, and the women around you in terms of self-care that have kind of continued, that you've continued?
Well, food is probably the biggest one. Always feed yourself because you need that energy. And I think that's also part of our culture is, we always have food. And sometimes it's too much food. You look at it and you're just like, really? Again? We're eating again? I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. But even when you're mourning, the food just keeps coming. Mm-hmm. But I think it's really is about self-care, all that food. Mm-hmm. It's like, don't forget to eat. You need your energy levels to be higher. And but a lot of it's also, don't forget to sleep.
Yeah.
So it really is about the cycle of the day. Mm-hmm. Don't do too much of this and forget this. Don't forget that. Do that. I get a lot of that from my mother. She's like, don't forget to sleep. What do you think I do all day?
I'm a vampire. I just stay up.
She knows I will, though. She was like, you have 5 jobs. Don't forget to go to sleep. I'm like, at some point, the natural cycle will take over. You will go to sleep.
You will go to sleep. Or you get sick. And crash, and your body was
sick. I just as soon as I left my daughter today, I was like, don't forget to, and I'm like, oh my God, I hear my mother's voice.
It's happening.
Yeah, it is. You do sound like your mother. And if you're lucky like me, you have a really great mom.
That's awesome.
But, not everybody's so lucky.
That is true. It's definitely, meeting people along the way and the lives that they've had, and people talk about their mothers, and
some people are toxic, and that's just
I know. True. Yeah, I called my mom one time, and after hearing the story of this woman who I can't even remember exactly what it was, but it was a story in regards to AIDS and HIV and homelessness and everything, and she was one of the people that have been able to be triumphant and become this amazing woman with nonprofit and everything. And I called my mom up that day, thank you.
Right. Yeah. Don't forget to thank your mom.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget to thank your mom.
Don't forget to thank your mom. But also, my sister has been a really good role model for me. She's only 20 months older than me, but when my mom brought me home from the hospital, she was like, "Thank you, Mommy, for my new doll." Aww. And ever since, she's been like another mother to me.
Awesome.
So, and I think the most important things I learned from both of them, because I never really had a very good relationship with my brother, is to not hold grudges.
Okay.
So both of them have always told me, don't hold grudges, because we would fight really badly. Mm-hmm. And he would hold the grudge and I wouldn't. I would always be the one to give in. Mm-hmm. And now I find myself telling my kids that it's really important not to hold a grudge.
How are you able to let it go?
I just have to talk myself out of it. It's not important in the long run. Because after he passed away, I was like, I really wish he hadn't held that grudge.
Wow.
There are really bad things that can happen. And if you're still holding on to that grudge, and you don't get to say goodbye, and you don't get to say, I'm sorry, or you don't get to say, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's not really that important. Don't hold on to that.
Absolutely.
That's bad energy.
Absolutely.
So when they fight, I'm like, you don't want to hold on to that. And if somebody does something to you, how much did it really hurt? You don't have to be friends with somebody. You don't even have to be family members.
Mm-hmm.
Cut it off.
And keep it moving.
Yeah.
Because you're only hurting yourself when it comes
It's
down
true.
to it. Just
It's
holding
like-
on to things like that.
Yeah, even just the other day I was talking to my mom and she's like, I get it. They did something bad. Let it go. And I'm like, I know, I have to rant for 5 more minutes. Then I'll let it go. Then I will. And I did. I ranted for 5 more minutes to my mommy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I let it go.
That's awesome that you guys have such a great relationship to do that.
Yeah, it wasn't always that way. I was a difficult teenager and I don't think we always connected when I was younger, but now that we're older and we're both wiser,
Mm-hmm.
because, sometimes you don't connect with your kids.
Right. So, I mean,
Or your siblings.
did it take you having kids?
Yeah, I think that helped.
Okay.
Definitely living not close to each other helped.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the wider world helped. Growing up for me helped. I was a brat.
Okay. It was me. It wasn't her. It was me. She's great. Hands down. It was okay. But you're older and wiser now.
I'm a lot older now. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. In getting to you being a writer, how did that come about, and how did you end up being a writer? You studied poetry.
I studied poetry. I think I always knew I wanted to be a writer. So in undergraduate college, I wanted to take a short story course.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as undergraduates go, you
Mm-hmm.
want to get into those classes, and
Right.
you can't get into those classes.
Yes.
Older undergraduates sign up first.
Yes.
And what was left was a poetry course. And I'm like, God, I hate poetry.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, well, you want creative writing, and this is all that's left. So I signed up for it, and I had this wonderful professor, Deborah Diggs,
Mm-hmm.
really fabulous poet. And she changed my life.
Wow.
She just introduced me to poetry. I was god-awful, like just the worst. And I don't know what she did to make it click, but she somehow accessed it. And by the end of the course, I was really writing.
Wow.
And I never looked back. And then by the end of undergraduate, she was like, you need to go on and get a graduate degree in poetry. And I did.
Wow.
And then I went on and got another graduate degree in fiction because I'm like, I am doing this fiction thing.
You're like,
and I've never written fiction since.
Really?
I was just like, I'm doing it, but I'm not going to do it.
But so you did it, you're not doing it, but you continued poetry.
Right. And then I moved here. I was already dating my husband. We were engaged, but he went here to med school and went out to California to get my degree.
Okay.
And I told him I'd come back and we'd get married.
Okay.
So that's what we did. And while I was looking for a job here, I found this ad in this newspaper called New Times,
Okay.
which was this big, thick alternative weekly back in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, do you have the stomach for this job? And I was like, what is this?
Mm,
They were looking for a dining critic.
Okay.
And I thought, I can do this. I've never written an article in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I worked in 10, 12 restaurants throughout my high school, undergraduate, graduate degrees.
So you had the experience, and you were a writer.
I had the dining experience from the backside.
Right.
And I worked in bakeries. I worked in cheese shops. I knew so much about food that I didn't know I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So the sample was, go out, dine on your own dime, write us a review, send it in by mail because there was no internet.
Right.
And I did that. I was like, I'm never going to get this job. This is ridiculous, but I'm going to do it. And I did it. And then Hurricane Andrew hit.
Right.
And I'm like, I am never going to even hear from these people because it got lost in the mail. It's like, this is ridiculous. And I got the job.
Wow.
And that was just astonishing to me. I got so lucky. I was like 24 years old. No money.
Mm-hmm.
No budget either. Sorry. But and then I worked there for till 2004.
Oh, wow.
Opened up another paper with them. Did the whole, had 2 dining columns, 2, food columns.
Mm-hmm.
So I was writing, a lot for them. And then I went freelance.
Okay.
And started doing magazines. And now I work for the Modern Luxury Group for Miami Magazine.
Okay. And then how has you've traveled
Yes.
a lot.
See, dining for free wasn't good enough.
Right.
And I had to travel.
And then you got to travel. Yes.
Yes.
So tell us about the food and what are some of the interesting things that you have experienced?
So the most interesting thing I've ever eaten was live termites.
Okay. Yeah. How'd that happen? Where did that happen? Why did that happen?
Yeah, why that happened. Why did that happen? Because you can't dare me to do anything, because I will. At least once. So the first travel assignment I ever got was to the Amazon.
Okay.
To this lodge in the middle of the Amazon, 5 hours down the river.
Okay. And on the Brazilian side of it? Or
on the Peruvian side.
On the Peruvian side, okay.
And my daughter had just been born. And I didn't realize that it was like there was no communication. So I just handed a 4-month-old baby to my husband and said, see you later.
You can handle this just as much as I can.
Yes, exactly. And I have to say that he is the best sport you've ever met, and as much of a feminist as like any of us. And he was like, okay, bye. Except that he didn't hear from me for 10 days on.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, where is she? What's happening here? And I went out into the jungle, and they showed us like how to survive in the jungle. And it was great because it was a great part of the story that I wrote. But I don't think I want to eat live termites again.
I'm sure. Yeah. What did you learn from that experience, like being in the jungle?
That I could survive if I had to, but that I don't want to have to do that.
What were actually, I lived in Peru. So I lived in Lima, Peru, and I got to the mountains, I got to the beach, so I saw the city, but I didn't get to the jungle. I did meet people from the jungle.
Really beautiful, and what was really interesting was fishing for piranha.
Oh, wow.
Because I was a terrible fisherman when I was growing up, and my sister fished with my dad, and my brother fished with my dad. They would go off on fishing trips, and I'd go out for Chinese food with my mom. And that was like one thing.
That was the thing. Okay.
And I'm like, because I never was able to catch anything. And they were always like hauling in these trout and hauling in these bluefish and whatever it is they did. And I would feel so left out. So I was like, I'm just not even going to try.
Right.
So then we had this piranha fishing trip. And I'm like, I'm going to be left out because I'm not going to catch anything. And I wound up catching the most.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, I'm piranha champion.
For beginner's luck. God.
I'm like, but the piranha are like, they've got a mouthful of teeth.
Oh my gosh. Like how do you take the hook off the...
Well, fortunately, the guy did that part.
Okay.
I was just like, ooh. These are, and you catch them with meat because they're carnivores.
Wow.
So you catch them with like raw meat and it's a hook on a string. You just go. You just have to kind of hook it at the right time. But they are really scary fish.
It's a piranha.
Like, great, this is the thing I'm good at.
You gotta go catch monsters.
Yeah.
Crazy, yeah.
I'm like, this is the thing I'm good at. Great.
Oh my
But
goodness.
they actually tasted pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, they taste like trout. They're like freshwater fish.
Cool. What were the women like?
On the trip or in the jungle?
In the jungle.
We didn't get to really interact with them that much, but we did go to a craft fair where they made the most beautiful items. And they just wanted you to wear all of them. So they would come up to you and put them all around your neck and your bracelets and your wrists and just generous.
Wow.
They just wanted you to have everything. And you traded for them with like soaps and shampoos, and they really wanted Western kind of products. So I felt like I was taking advantage of them, but that's what they wanted.
Yeah. That's a trade.
And I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and all you want is a bar soap. Yeah.
There's not a Publix around the corner.
Right. So I still have the things I brought back from there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that was 21 years ago. Some of the people on the trip were just really not that smart. So it was a.
How so?
I was the only journalist on the trip, so it was just like a regular.
Okay, so it was
yeah. So the guide said, "Okay, so this is a good place where you can go swimming." And I was like, you want us to go in the water? And he's like, "Yeah, it's not going to hurt you. You know, it's not like you see in the movies. The piranha are not going to eat you.
But what about parasites?
Unless you're menstruating." nothing's going to crawl up her penis or anything like that. And I'm like,
I have seen enough Discovery to know that can happen.
I know. And I'm like, I don't believe you, so I'm not going in, actually. So one guy was like, you're being ridiculous and you're being whatever, and I'm going in. Jumps off the boat before the guide's even finished speaking, and he comes up that next side of the boat and throws himself back in. He has a huge white mark.
Oh my gosh, shut up.
And I'm like, no.
Wait, so piranha fiddle?
I don't know what it was.
Something fiddle. That's insane.
The guy didn't barely finish talking before he came back in with a white mark, and we're like, okay, thank you for demonstrating.
That's not what we should do. So people, listen, when you go to these places that you haven't been before,
he hadn't even finished speaking. The guy's
pay attention to the instructions all the way through before you get half of you bitten out. It's not good.
I'm like, don't swan dive and make a big mess so that the fish know you're there.
So you're a chef also. You have a cookbook. Do you have?
I wouldn't say chef. I would say cook.
Okay. So you're
definitely self-trained, mama-trained, sister-trained.
Mm-hmm.
My sister and I cook a lot together. My sister used to work for Martha Stewart radio and do the morning drive show. And then we just both started cooking at the same time at home. So one day I really want to do something with her.
Okay.
But yeah, we're both like mom-trained.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I think there are a lot of chefs out there with restaurants that are mom-trained.
Yeah, and I have actually...
And you're published with it. So.
Yeah, and I have nothing against like all of those chefs who are not gone to school or... I admire them.
What's your favorite meal to cook?
I like marinating things and putting them on a grill or just, briefly putting them in the oven. I love marinating things with yogurt and spices because it's a really non-fattening way of getting food flavor into the food.
Absolutely. Are you working on a book now or anything?
I have 2 poetry books coming out, one in 2020 and one, this is kind of hard to even fathom, one in 2023.
Okay. Congratulations in advance.
Thanks.
So now I want to ask you a little bit more about travel. What's been your favorite experience abroad?
Favorite experience abroad. I've had some really good ones, but I think the one I liked the best, even though it was oddly brief for going so far, was South Africa. Okay.
Well, what about that?
I just love animals. Even though I eat them, I still love them. And that was going on safari is an amazing experience. So I was only in South Africa for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
It was a very brief trip.
That was a very brief trip.
But it was so worth it.
Right.
I mean, if I could do that again, and someday I will.
So the majority of the time there, you were out on the safari?
We went out like twice. You go out in the really early in the morning, at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you go out in the evening.
What was that like? What did you?
It was just amazing. We were in Kruger National Park, which is one of the biggest ones, so one of the more well-trodden paths. But they have a lot of lions and a lot of giraffe. Okay. They have the big 5. Okay. Like the big trophies. Not that we're hunting. Yeah. I mean, I love to eat animals, but I don't like to kill them. Right. So, especially for sport. But it was unusual at the time because when the female lion has her babies, if they're male, they will eventually leave and start their own prides. Okay. So this female lion had like 4 or 5 male babies. What's the word for babies? Cubs. Thank you. They had grown, but they weren't ready to leave yet. Okay. So they had this tremendous pride. Wow. Really big. There were like 18 lions in it, which is like just an enormous pride. So they were bringing down giraffe. Oh, okay. Really big pride. And it was a very unusual pride to see. So we got to see that. We didn't get to see the hunt, which I'm kind of glad about. But we saw them after they had eaten, and they were just like, their bellies were like this big. They were all distended, and they were all pooping all over me. I can't believe I came all the way. You overate. That's what you get. Now you got diarrhea. And it was weird. They were smeared with blood and like, oh gosh. But it was so like natural. It was just so interesting to see how this large pride before the young males left worked together. So that was a great trip.
Awesome. Awesome. And tell me about a time where you spent time with women that were in another country.
That was an interesting trip because it was mostly male.
Right.
But a lot of the trips I've taken have been mostly women.
Okay.
So I recently went to Paso Robles, which is a wine producing region in California in the Central Coast. And it was almost all women.
Really?
But that trip was almost all women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really rare to be with like women who are all wine enthusiasts. And I think women have excellent palates.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like to see women climbing the ranks inside the wine world. Because it's another place where they have been traditionally shut out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, you can't come in. And I'm like, let them in.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming in.
We're coming in. We're here.
Yeah. So that to me was like, I love this.
So what vineyards did you visit there?
We did, we had so much fun. We did 4 vineyards a day. And then at lunch, we would have 4 different vineyards join us. And at dinner, we would have 4 more vineyards join us.
That sounds like a good trip.
That was like,
and
we would taste the entire portfolios.
Okay, so if I was a fly on the wall, what did I hear?
You would hear, oh my God, my palate's numb. But there were a few women winemakers. Okay. And that was really great too. I love to see, that people are. Paso Robles is an interesting region because it's very, very Rhone-like, and all of the varietals. They grow 64 different kinds of grapes. Mm-hmm. That's a tremendous amount.
Wow.
So, there's a great winery, Epic. Mm-hmm. It's a female winemaker. And Harmony Cellars. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are husband and wife teams. Okay. But sometimes it's the husband who's doing the marketing or owning, they own it together. Right. And the wife is.
Have you noticed any differences between the women-owned vineyards?
Sometimes they're more willing to take risks.
Okay.
It's also a really young region, so they're all willing to take risks. So,
okay.
At Epic, she was aging Syrah and Amphora, this gigantic clay pot. Mm-hmm. So you're not necessarily seeing that all over the place. She also had a laboratory though. So you're seeing exactly what the bricks are, and you're analyzing the wine just like everybody else in the modern world. But she's also going back to Roman times.
Wow.
So I like seeing this intelligence coming out. Awesome. But the guy next to her is stomping things with his feet.
I did that once. It's such a fun experience. I did it in Peru actually.
Yeah.
With the pisco.
They're really fun. It's a great region. It's going to be, not the next Napa, but they have over 200 wineries there.
Okay. Awesome. What is a question that you would ask other women?
Interesting question. Why didn't you tell me how hard it was going to be? You probably hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. But, other women make it look easy, and I think that there's always a struggle behind the scenes, and we never let on.
Right.
And I think we need to let on that it's hard.
I hear you.
That there's disappointments, that there's illnesses, that there's struggle, and we need to stop pretending.
Yeah.
That it's super easy to get there. It's so easy to get what you want.
And have this work-life balance.
And you cannot have that work-life balance. It just doesn't happen that way. You can have a lot of things, but it's a real struggle. And you don't get 8 hours of sleep, and you don't get this picture-perfect life. And it's messy. And everybody should tell you that going in. Not that, hey, you can have it all. You can't have it all. You can have a lot of it.
Okay. So we can have some of it.
We can have some of it.
You can have a lot of it, but it's not going to be perfect.
But you can't have, a career doing everything that you've intended to set out to do, and then have this great relationship with your children, if you have children, because they're going to resent you for being away. But you can have this great relationship with your children, but you may not reach that total pinnacle.
Right.
Or you may reach both, but then, you may lose touch with your partner.
Right.
Or you may, have some loss of friendships along the way because you don't have time to socialize. you're going to lose something. And I think that's the secret that nobody tells you. So I know I've lost some friendships along the way because I haven't had time to go out with friends and socialize. And that's on me, It's like, well, I've had kids, I've had careers, I've had a husband, I've had animals, I've had a house, I've had at some point you run out of hours in the day.
Yeah. How do we add these hours back? And then how do
family,
you choose?
Parents, at some point you have to say, I should draw the line somewhere, but you can't because everybody tells you can have it all.
So why didn't you tell us that we couldn't have it all?
Right. I think that conversation is starting to bubble up in places that let's pretend that we never said that and now we're going to say we can't have it all.
Right.
Let's just try to have some of it and do some of it really well.
Yeah, I was reading Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year of Yes, and she talks about that. Everyone looks like they're living these perfect lives. And then she got a nanny. And she's like, that's how I do it. I don't do it all. I have a nanny. And that's how you are able to do it all. Once you get to a certain level, you have to have someone else that's helping you.
Right. Yeah. I think that would be pretty helpful.
And of course, everybody can't do that.
Yeah,
but
everybody can. I had a nanny until my kids were 5. And then they went to school, and my husband was like, you don't need a nanny anymore. And I'm like, yes, I do. What are you talking about? 9 to 3 is not long enough to accomplish all of this.
I don't get that. And I don't have kids yet. So it's like, wait, kids they're not in school all day, but you work all day.
Right.
And there's this after school thing,
and then you're just, after school's the worst.
Right.
After school is the worst. You're going from extracurricular activity to extracurricular activity.
Right.
And there were days when I would just park myself at the wine bar and take them from one thing to another, and then I would just have a seat there. The people knew me. I would leave my computer there. I would leave my books there. And I would have all of their activities all around town, and I would have a glass of wine.
Hey, that's how you balance. That's how you made it work.
Listen, I didn't kill anybody.
Right.
They're still alive.
They're still alive. We don't condone drinking.
They survived and thrived.
Okay. And then our wrap-up question, how would you define a woman? What is a woman to you?
A woman is however she defines herself. So, we like to say, my partner in swim, Catherine, and I like to say, if you have a moment of feeling female, you're a woman.
Okay.
So, however you define it is fine with us because we present female poets, and they may not necessarily have been born female or feel that they were female, feel they're 100% female. They could be non-binary, they could be trans. So I feel like a woman is, if you say you're a woman, you're a woman.
Okay.
You can have that 1% of feeling a woman.
Then you're a woman. Right then.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you've experienced that moment of somebody looking at you and saying you're a woman, sometimes it's being defined from outside yourself. Sometimes it's being defined inside yourself. But if you've had that one moment of saying someone, yep, I'm a woman,
then have it.
Go for it.
How can people find you?
Oh, okay. I'm on Instagram as Jen Karetnick. I'm on Twitter as Karetnick.
Okay.
And that is my nickname that I got from New Times from the very, very beginning. Because, as you know, my last name is Karetnick. But in Yiddish, the word kvetch means to complain. So, my first piece of fan mail. I don't know why she calls herself Karetnick. She should call herself Kvetchnik. Because all she does is complain. So I took it as my first username ever.
That's
when
awesome.
The internet was invented.
Hey, you got that one.
That's how old I am.
Can you spell both of them for me?
Yes. Jen Karetnick is Jenkaretnick. And then Kvetchnik is a little different. It's Kavetchnik.
Okay, awesome. And is there anything else that you'd like to add?
This was great, and I love what you're doing. I think it's fabulous.
Thank you.
And if you want to see poetry readings, come to the Betsy Hotel. Go to swim.org, SWWIM, Supporting Women Writers in Miami.org. And we publish a poem every day, finally.
Awesome. Let's definitely check that out.
Yeah.
You guys check that out too.
Yeah, check it out.
Ladies, check it out.
Anybody who has a moment of being female.
Yes.
Just one moment is all it takes.
One moment. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Collective Drift on YouTube. And remember to like this episode if you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a comment as well. And definitely check out the Collective Drift website. That's collectivedrift.com. Have a great day, great evening. Stay safe, stay inside.